Okay, so now God has revealed to me more things that are basically related to what we all know. I've given you everything you need to figure out what's going on your own. And I'll give you one more piece. And then they're probably going to come for me because of what happened and their inability to shut me up with a logical police complaint or something. And they're also making it so I walk up and down the street like Trayvon Martin, so you know. And I'm trying to cover the street as much as possible. But I predict that, yes, trouble will happen. And there was a time when they called the police on me just for walking down the room. And they got there before I even got back to my house, within 2 or 3 minutes. But let me tell you this, okay? The triangle, okay? Think carefully. If you're the Apep guy, who are you exactly? Apep with wings before he fell out of grace was the king of the abyss. What is the abyss? It is the dark temple. And every animal, the jackal, the fox, etc., you know, whether they operate during the day or they're nocturnal, okay, either has a dark side mentality or they don't. See, Osiris was the lord of the black, but he was good. For the same reason the leopard and the panther are good. Okay? Now, I'm not worried about anything. Matthew 10, 37 through 39 makes it clear. And let me just finish what I'm going to say, and I'm going to tell you why. The eye on the dollar bill is the eye of Apep. That's why it's Apollo, ape. Okay, whose god is Apollo? Greco-Roman and Norse mythology answers a lot of these questions. Okay, Apollo, the ape, the beast. Scientists knew we evolved from, or they theorized it before Darwin and them, and before Mendel and any of these guys ever came around. They said, look, this is what we believe. Look at how they are compared to how we are. Look at their nature. And this was part of the debate. If we're related to these guys, well, why can't we feel free to act like an ape? It's the people who want you to act like a pagan kind of ape versus the people that made you stand upright. What does it mean to stand upright, to stand tall? So when I spread my wings like this, okay, if I was going to symbolize Horus, I would symbolize him as a triangle. Because when you go like this, you make a triangle and your arms are straight and it's up and down like this, right? Okay, it's straight. So when you stand upright, right, it's this angle and this angle when you put your arms out like a hawk. So you've made a triangle and your head represents the angles coming together. You can call it here, you can call it the top of your head. You can say it's a halo above your head, but it's the same idea of the spirit of God versus the spirit of Apep and his minions. There's an order in hell, there's an order in the lion kingdom, and the Lion of Judah is the leopard in his glory. He is the lion amongst leopards, like an ugly duckling amongst ducks. Okay, the mark of the beast is a 9 and a 6 together. It is a dark side interpretation of the Trinity of Africa. Look at pantheons, look at trinities, androgynous, Hellenization. Look at the age. What is the age of enlightenment if not Roman thought continued? Okay, the ape. Go ape shit. Pepsi, Peppy the First. Look up Peppy. Pep boys. Getting pepped. Getting amped. Feeling the spirit of God. What are the differences? Horus represents God. The pyramid represents Horus on top of the pyramid and pharaohs buried under the spirit of the hawk. And in case you haven't noticed, hawks like landing on things that remind them of mountains. And so do falcons, so they can have that view and feel safe. It's like we're building you a temple, that's where you sit. The capstone of the temple is the spirit of the hawk. And if it is a stone, it is Jesus, the stone the builder rejected for Apophis, ape, Apollo, apology, romance, Yari, mating, fertility, rituals, Amazon, Aztec, serpent. Okay, there is Mehen, but Mehen is a little bitch that we rarely think about compared to Apep. That's why the jackal had to team up with Mehen, showing the potential for animals that are nocturnal to have a light side mentality or to be used by God to keep the dark in check. Osiris was the lord of the black because he kept you dark side sons of bitches in check by applying the light appropriately. And no non-African can apply the light appropriately. Why do I say that? Well, let's go to page 162 and let's look at the light temple philosophy and the leopard societies, which gave us the line of Judah over time, and Joseph and the priestess of On, Melchizedek, Abraham. Before Abraham, I am. Why? Before Abraham, the light temple. Before Melchizedek, the light temple. Melchizedek, what? Malicious? Mel Gibson? Melchizedek. Before you dickheads came around, I was African. A bunch of white Jews and Romans said, kill him, kill him. Constantine said, there's an unspoken rule, and I think I don't have to mention it. What race do you never, ever put above us cocky Romans who kill each other for less? Let's see. So let's go to page 162, shall we? Middle of second paragraph. This was indicated by the century even after the close of the international trade in captive Africans. So you can symbolize the triangle in the eye, right, as Horus, or the eye or perspective of the dark temple or the dragon. So if they ever come up with a mechanism that allows them to do holograms, expect to see a very intense jackal or serpent dragon eye that represents the devil telling you, you better watch it. You know, when it comes to everything, Hades and all these different ways people worshipped dark side philosophies, the serpent is the overseer. He is the dragon in the cave. He is in the abyss, the beast, right? How many beasts are there? And why are there more than one beast? God wants to get it through your head that there's a collaboration of different demonic entities against different light side entities. And he says you know them by their works. And nature is a natural work of God. So those who are consistent with nature are consistent with the design of the Creator. Whereas those who do not admit things like this was indicated by the central role of Africans in the societies during the second half of the 19th century, even after the close of the international trade in captive Africans. Even after the close? Well, why is that? Carlos Eugenio, right? Eugenics, inferior stock, poisonous slime. Well, if they're poisonous slime, who pushes the poison and who gets blamed for pushing the poison? The black guy gets the harsh sentence. He gets blamed for it. The 7 is the poisonous slime. But who makes it? Who distributes it? Who's the big cartels, right? It's J-Feffians and white Hispanics that run drug cartels with their Jewish allies. Look it up. And some of them are even called Templars and cults like this. And they worship, Santa Maria and have a dark side cult. So it goes on to say, in this study on capoeiras in the second half of the 19th century, this is foundational in America, suggests that even after the reduction of African-born populations, it was standard for each capoeira society to contain at least one African who normally held the office of society chief, or at least the most experienced multi-member, the carrier of cultural memory, and that had an important role in the symbolic reproduction of the group. So if you have a martial arts African group, who is the most experienced martial artist? A guy who has been doing it for 40 years, or the guy he couldn't beat in his prime, who's over 100? Well, what is experience? Experience in presentation? Trickery? No, because you got to be ready to fight to the death, right? You got to be ready to fight to the death. So it goes on to say, in addition to this possible cultural consideration, complete mastery of the martial arts system was also essential for the office of chief, because in certain situations, conflict between societies were ritually resolved through single combat of their chiefs. Societies are the evolutions of cults, and the temples that were a result of cults and produced more cults. So why an African-born leader when there's a reduction and we're getting more, children born as African Americans? Because your ancestors, African Americans, with all due respect, wanted you to follow me. Read page 162. And it's not because I'm wrong. It's not because I'm stupid. It's because naturally Jesus said, I am the top martial artist, and God chose Judah. Judah went to Igbo to become Nahum and the image of God, to remind you what God is supposed to be. Mind, body, and soul. What is God supposed to be? He's supposed to be a Semite who's black. Nahum, Amos, Genesis, Chronicles, Exodus. Read it. Numbers. Less numbers of African born. So what did they say after that? If you can have a African-born leader who's uncontrolled, who you can trust, you need the most experienced member. So when the other guys call you out, You don't have to hide like a presentation, non-black racist bitch. And what does this mean for Moses and Jacob wrestling God? Imagine if Jacob wasn't proficient when he wrestled God. Yes, this is in the Bible. It's in African culture and in every culture in the world. And the people who do not measure up, mind, body, soul, and heart, whoever they are, and they're from every race, have teamed up to usurp the guys who are spread apart, right? West Africans, tall, mighty, Nordic guys, a little bit taller, Northern Europeans, right? So what happened? These guys got pissed off at these guys and said, fuck that. And they blamed it on these guys so the blacks wouldn't use it to rise up, right? Don't you see what's going on here? Don't you see? Who do you think has the upper hand? The Asians, the Jews, the whites who are from the southern Mediterranean basin like the Italians? Who are the mafia? The Aryan Brotherhood were the foot soldiers for the mafia. We are run by pipsqueak, runt, jealous, poisonous slime. And I'm not racist, and I'm not saying they're racist like that. Whether or not you are poisonous slime is whether or not you have a positive philosophy. And how great you are on the pyramid depends on how much that philosophy reflects African philosophy, which traditionally, culturally, ceremonially, ritually, spiritually, and so on, socially, the social order was passed on through me. Not any of you. Not a non-African. I'm a second generation African. And in the lack of a true African martial artist leader who can beat me, I'm supposed to be in charge. And here's the kicker. African-born guys were usually better warriors than African-American-born ones. Why? Wait for it. Genetic engineering, social Darwinism, eugenics, scientific racism. So I say to you African-American women especially, are we all to suffer because you don't want to admit the white man has done eugenics to the point where you're no longer a formidable opponent for him? And that even when I am drugged, I am far more brave and wise than you are. Are we all to suffer for your business interests and your oversimplifications, your overgeneralizations and avoiding the argument? Are we all to suffer for these childish things that even pro-profit colleges point out? Or are we to give the prince his rightful place? I have given you 20 years, 7 years, and then 5. In a few weeks, we will be at 5 years exactly. You could not beat me. Our ancestors demand you follow me. Not a feminist bitch, not a communist, not a Mason, not a controlled opposition coward. And I will carry my cross, and I will always say what the ancestors want me to say, not what women who are offering me their bodies every day want me to say, not what gays who try to coerce me with potential sexual assaults footage, because when you're drugged all the time, who knows what they do to you, right? Not white supremacists, Jews, Asians who want to mislead you with their serpent philosophy when they can't even beat me. We're supposed to take on your culture and you can't even beat me? You gotta drug me? You want my people to be a bunch of drug-pushing, white denial culture, having social norm, supporting mainstream misconception victims type of motherfuckers? No, I am the prince, and you are not even my race. And my people, even here in America, are predominantly Christian. You will back off. You will.